The externalities of the Iranian day trip intervention are so significant that we still need to talk about stuff that happened on March 23rd. Now, I want to say something today that I missed and give it the space that it deserves, because the head of the International Energy Agency said on the 23rd that the current situation in the Middle East is worse than the two energy crises of the 1970s put together. Not worse than one of them, worse than both of them combined. For people who don't have the history locked in, the 1973 oil embargo followed the Yom Kippur War. Arab OPEC members cut oil supplies to countries supporting Israel, so prices quadrupled. Western economies went into stagflation, simultaneously inflation and recession, and it took a decade to fully exit and to normalize oil and gas prices. It basically reshaped global energy policy and led to the creation of the IEA itself, and changed how every government on earth thought about energy security. The 1979 crisis followed the Iranian Revolution. When the Shah fell, Iranian oil production collapsed, as it might now, and prices doubled. A second wave of stagflations, lines around gas stations in the United States, rationing in Europe. Both of these crises were political decisions that basically could have been reversed by political divisions. This one is an active war, and we're talking about this, 5 days after the fact, with both Hormuz and the Red Sea simultaneously compromised now that the Houthis have entered the conflict. And with Gulf energy infrastructure under direct attack, for example, refineries in Kuwait, Qatar, LNG offline for up to 5 years, Saudi Arabia intercepting drone barrages daily, the IEA basically has already released the largest emergency reserve in its 50-year history, and prices are still climbing, with the shipping industry basically rerouting around Africa for the rest of the year, regardless of what happens next. And Goldman Sachs is projecting elevated prices through 2027, and that is the optimistic best-case scenario. The IEA chief said this is worse than both of the 70s crises combined, right? And the U.S. Energy Secretary said on the 23rd that prices haven't risen high enough yet to drive meaningful demand destruction. Read that sentence carefully. The U.S. Energy Secretary is telling you that in his assessment, things need to get worse before the economic mechanisms that normally stops them from getting worse kicks in. I keep coming back to the fact that this happened on day 24. This is 24 days into the war. The 1973 embargo lasted 5 months. This 1979 crisis took roughly a year to work through. The IEA was literally created because of a 1973 crisis, and the person running it is standing at a podium saying this is worse than that, twice worse. And there's no framework for what happens if this runs through summer. Kevin Duska at the Dog Park, Primary Gank. Cheers. Oh, and follow and subscribe or whatever.